Good morning. Good morning. Hatha for everybody with Jennifer Eubank and the gang. And a nice heart opening practice today as we explore the heart chakra, chakra number 4. And appropriately, its color is green. And I wore all green, mostly all green. Okay, so before we start our practice, we just need a blanket and a couple of blocks today. Let's take a few moments to settle in to a seated position, or if you're lying back, you can stay lying back because we're going to go there in a moment anyway. We'll take just a few moments to settle into our space. Take a few cleansing breaths. Notice the aura in your space. It's nice and bright today. When you feel safe and sound in your environment, shift your attentions to your interior environment. Scan through the body. Noticing how you feel without a sense of judgment. We want to bring our heart into this. Be compassionate, be loving, be understanding of any unwanted sensations that you might have this morning. Feel the breath circulating. At some point, zero in on the breath and focus only on it. Notice how it makes the chest rise and fall. Gently rising, softly releasing. Lifting the heart, settling the heart. Let's do a few more breaths. And as you're ready, slowly glide our eyes back open. And let's get ready for our first pose this morning. One of my favorites, we do this one a lot. I thought we would start in a supported fish. It's a nice reclining, heart opening pose. We've been doing lots of starfish and cactus arms lately to begin with, but today let's go with a supported fish. So you have options. You can do a quieter version if you don't want an extreme back bend, or you can do the version with the blocks. So I'll show you briefly in case you've forgotten. You need a blanket and you fold it fairly narrow and fairly thick, and you put it on across the mat in a way that when you lie back on the mat, be sure, or excuse me, on the blanket, Make sure that your shoulder blades land on the blanket, but your arms land behind the blanket. I'm a little too close to my wall. And that's important because you want to lift in the heart. And if your head is craning too much, your neck, you might put a little support under your head, like a block, which might be too much because you don't want your head above the heart. So maybe a little pillow or a sock might work better than a block. So this version, or you could do the block version where you have 2 blocks. One is parallel. And again, your thoracic spine, your shoulder blades are close to that and on it. And then the other block goes under your head. In either version, you want to make sure that you've taken care of your basic needs, your root chakra needs. You've picked the version that works for you. You've got the props properly organized. You've got a good solid connection. And then you can start to settle in and feel what it is like to be in this pose this morning. I am, I feel your first 2 chakras. And we'll tap into our 3rd chakra, I do, by sticking with it, by staying here. Even though it's a still position, we're still doing something. We're simply being and experiencing the present moment. And I picked this pose to begin with because it's a heart opener. There's a lift to the heart. I'm going to rise up, but you stay right where you are in your supported fish, your supported back bend. And the 2-word phrase for our heart chakra, of course, is I love. Its color is green. Its properties are companionship, love, compassion, relationships. Anahata is the Sanskrit name, Anahata. By the way, each one of these chakras has a symbol associated with it. At the end of the semester, you'll get a spreadsheet with those images. Or you could look them up if you prefer. If you want to look a little sooner. By the way, Anahata means unstuck. Unstuck. Never beginning, never ending. Its element is air. And that's appropriate because notice the lift in your heart, the opening of the chest. With any of our back bends, we're extending the spine and we're creating space in the front of the body. And that promotes deeper breathing. And so you probably are feeling that air quality as you hold this position. And perhaps you can go a little bit more deeply in that idea. And deepen your inhales, lengthen your exhales. Perhaps even do some 3-part yogic breath. I think we're all familiar with that breath. That's where you draw the breath all through the nose, deep into the belly, and then up into the chest and the shoulders and the collarbones and the upper back, and then reversing that. So the breath starts deep in the belly, rises up to the chest, the heart area, up into the neck and the shoulders, even the back, and then reverses. And if that's too much in this position, then you don't need to do it. Maybe just breathing more deeply is enough. Drawing our awareness, our breath, our attentions to our heart chakra helps us balance the qualities. And too much energy in your heart chakra, you tend to become needy, codependent, not enough, shy, bitter, isolated from the world. If you're feeling either of these extreme qualities in your moods, you may want to do some heart openers or maybe just some deep breathing. You don't have to do yoga to open your heart chakra. There are other activities. Reaching out to someone in need, reaching out to a loved one that you haven't spoken to in quite some time. Confirming your relationship with that person. Volunteering is a wonderful way to stoke your heart chakra. Doing for others. Even if it's just shoveling someone's sidewalk. Let's take about 10 more breaths in our supported fish. You could still continue with that 3-part breathing, or perhaps you've kind of backed off of it. You could always return. It's all up to you. And that brings me to, love starts with self-love. The more you love yourself, the more easy it is to show love to others. And we were put on this earth to connect, to form relationships. Just a little bit longer. Oh, perfect timing for a quote. Here's a quote I'm reminded of from the Buddha, whose dates are 563, 483 BCE, by the way. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, desire your love and affection. It starts with you. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserves your love and affection. Couple more breaths, noticing the effects. And start to move the fingers and toes and the hands and feet, and bend your knees, feet on the floor, two-legged table. And then as you're ready, gently roll to one side off of your blanket or your blocks. Be careful. And return to a two-legged table. So you'll remove those props, but then come back to the floor And that two-legged table, you can still keep your socks on. We don't really need them. Our feet, we don't need our feet. We need our feet, but the traction is not so important right now. Let's do those four-legged twists. I'm pretty sure I've shown these to you. We'll be doing lots of heart openers and including twists. Twists are great way to open up that chest. So when you're ready, put your right ankle on your left knee, or you could start with the other, but I'm starting with right. Take a few moments, tap into your root chakra, settle into that construction. And then when you're ready, start small and start some movement, bringing that leg structure back and forth from side to side, adding the breath to it, coordinating the movement with that breath, and then adding the head gently going side to side in the same direction. Again, these are all root and sacral chakras. We're getting used to the movement gently and easing into it and increasing the challenge as we go. Eventually having the head go in the opposite direction. Feel your sacrum, getting that little massage. The foot is rooted. Its connection to the earth changes as you go from side to side, but it's always there on the ground for you. Not to mention the foot that's on the knee. Let's go a couple more. Come back to center as you're ready. Take a couple of breaths before you make any changes. Notice the effects and then switch sides and take your time settling into that change. And when you feel ready for more, start some movement, increasing the movement, intensifying it as you're ready for it. I use the word intensify lightly. It's not like you're going full force here, right? Be loving, be gentle to your body. Pay attention to its basic needs. If our first three chakras are out of whack, it's difficult to balance your heart chakra if you haven't balanced those first three. And come back to center as you're ready. Take a couple of breaths. Again, take your time. And then bring that foot down and take a couple of breaths here. And then let's make our way up to a seat. Maybe haul right up, or if you need a little bit more time, take that time. And we'll meet in a seated position. We'll take a few moments to stabilize it, root and ground, and feel that sacrum getting nice and wide as your hips open. Draw your belly in to tap into your solar plexus strength to help you lift your heart. Soften your shoulders. Feel that neck lengthening as the crown reaches for the ceiling and you root into the floor. Just take 3 more breaths. I had to consult my notes real quick. I want to add a mudra to this. We'll do 2 mudras today. This one is called the Vayu mudra. It's the air mudra. It promotes air in the body. So we'll stay in our seated position and then take your index finger and bring it down to the hand, and then put your thumb on the knuckle of that index finger. So the thumb is on the knuckle of each index finger, and the other 3 fingers are extended. Open the hands out to face the ceiling. Put them on your knees and take a few moments and maybe close the eyes and notice what it feels like to hold this mudra. Notice that there's an outer rotation to your shoulders. Your shoulders are rotating away from your spine, compelling you to open the chest and lift the heart. So this promotes more breath, more air. Take a few more breaths, notice. Cultivating your sense of compassion, your sense of empathy, your connections to the world. Let's go one more breath. Let's release that mudra. Hands out to the sides. Let's do our rainbows. Inhale the arms up. Exhale one down. You know how to go. Take your time, bit by bit, easing into your range of motion, easing into the movement. Avoid going to your 100% right away. Ground and root. Notice what these changes feel like. Keep your belly drawn in to help you lift that heart. These rainbows are heart openers. We do them every week. Rainbow colors attributed to the chakras in the 70s, interestingly enough, appropriately enough, but it makes sense. Red, earth, I am. Orange, I feel the sacral chakra. Yellow, solar plexus, I do. Today's chakra, green, heart chakra, I love. Next week's blue, the voice chakra, I speak. Then indigo blue, the third eye, I see. Reaching up to the top chakra, the crown chakra, purple, I understand. Let's go a few more of these rainbows. And at some point when you're ready, let's pause on one side. Doesn't matter which. And we'll take a few breaths. Think about lifting your heart as you maybe look up at that arm and rotate that shoulder back a little bit so you're not hunching forward, closing your heart. You're opening your heart. Maybe kind of a slight twist there. One more breath. And let's go to the other side and spend some quality time over here. And your heart is on the left side of your body. So if you've got the right arm lifted, it's hard to think about lifting your heart, but try to. It's down, but lift it up. Within reason, of course. And we'll go another breath or two. And when you're ready, come on back. Take your time. And take a few breaths. Okay. Now, let's come on to our bellies and let's do some cobras and then perhaps a sphinx pose. So, yeah, we'll do the cobras to kind of warm up our curving the spine, back bending the spine. And then after we've warmed up, we'll settle into a still sphinx. Either way, if you want, you could have a blanket. Make sure it's not very thick. You want it pretty shallow because you don't want too much lift in your pelvis. But that can be a nice little cushion for the pelvis. And then take a few moments to lie on your belly. Take care of those basic needs. Legs are where they need to be, toes curled or not. And that's the foundation. And then when you're ready, put your hands under your shoulders and then slide them back so they're more in line with your wrists. Oh, excuse me. So they're more in line with your ribs. And try to bring those arms in. And when you're ready, you can start to engage the core muscles, the leg muscles, and use an inhale to lift your heart, and then use an exhale to bring it back down. And let's do these dynamically. We've done this many times where we inhale and lift and exhale back down. And keep going. And as you continue, you might want to make little changes, maybe some changes about your legs, your basic foundation, fine-tuning your lines, maybe going up a little higher each time. Make sure you're using the whole body, that you're not lifting your heart with your hands. You can even take the hands off the floor a few rounds. It's a good way to ensure that you're using those legs, your bum, your core muscles. Feel free to linger for a few. Up in a cobra. And likewise, feel free to linger down below. And let's go about 10 more breaths. You could even bring the legs off the floor and the arms to the back, like I'm doing now. This is called locust pose. If you do that, make sure that your shoulders are soft and make sure that you're not looking up at the ceiling, because this is not a neck crane. This is a heart lift. So you're just lifting the heart, not craning the neck. So the neck is in a gradual arch with the rest of your spine. Let's take a rest in another heart opener, crocodile. Try to make your arms in a way that allows you to open up your shoulders and bring the heart as low as you can to the floor. In other words, you're not up. You want to be as close to the floor as possible. And let's take 5 breaths here. And they can be those 3-part yogic breaths if you like. And as you're ready, let's lift up into a sphinx. Engage the muscles to help you lift up. Figure out how you want those legs, close or far apart. Those legs are very important in building your sphinx. They give you lots of support. That's your foundation, as well as that belly and the pelvis. And your arms too. So here your arms start to become involved in that root chakra. And it depends on how your body is connected to the earth. Notice that support. Notice the widening of the sacrum, opening the hips, pressing into the belly to help you support the lift in the heart. Looking straight ahead. Your official drishti, your official gazing point is the floor in front of the mat, maybe a couple of feet. So you're not looking at the hands, because if you were, you would be dropping the head, and that's a strain on the neck. Head is in line with that lifted heart. Just go 5 more breaths here. You could be doing that 3-part yogic breathing if you so desire. A little bit longer. Let's make our way back down the crocodile bit by bit. And once we've settled into that position, take a few breaths to settle in even more. And then we'll take 5 quiet breaths here. And then as you're ready, take your time. Let's come up to a table for a few moments. Get used to that change. Maybe reach behind and take your socks off if you're still wearing your socks, because what we'll do now is let's go ahead and just stand right up. Let's make our way up into a mountain pose. So take your time, maybe use your down dogs to come up, your blocks, what have you. Do your best to come up safely. Use the strong legs to lift that torso, hinging up by the hips. So no rolling up that spine. That's old school yoga, not good for our chakra ladder. Chakra ladder. Okay. let's do a warrior 2 based sequence today. So let's face the long side of the mat. Take your time facing the long side of your mat. And we'll take a few moments getting used to being up. All of our root chakra needs. We need to adjust something in the room. Do that. And then as you're ready, start to feel your feet and their connection to the floor. Maybe start to move the feet around, picking up different parts of the feet. And then when you're ready, let's step wide. So we'll do lots of heart opening movements in our Warrior Two exploration. A Warrior Two is a heart opener in of itself. So first things first, take your time making your way into your first Warrior Two. Bit by bit, stabilize it, check into its basic alignment principles, make sure you have everything you need to be safe, and then you can start to explore a little bit. Let's bring that back arm forward and back, doing a few of those bowing actions that we've done. Really nice way to help you open up, especially that back torso area. Let's do two more. Coming back to a Warrior Two as you're ready. Breath or two there. And then let's put a sun in it. And let's stay in the sun for a few breaths. Lifting that heart, curving your spine, rooting the feet, keep the belly drawn in. Feel that nice stretch all along the front of your body. And come back to your Warrior Two as you're ready. Let's do a side angle. Bring the elbow to the knee, maybe the hand to the floor or a block, and then your other arm reaches up. Feel the nice reach from the back foot to that hand that's over the head. And then turn it into a triangle. Extend that front leg and bring the arm up towards the ceiling, maybe looking at it. And maybe going a little deeper in your triangle. I'm going to go pretty conservative. I'm pretty high up. Let's turn it back into that side angle as we're ready and take a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, root the feet and backstroke back up into your Warrior Two. Let's do another sun. Let's go back into our Warrior Two. Take a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, come on back out, come back to the center, bringing the hands down, feet to the front. Take a couple of breaths standing wide. Feel that energy settling down. And then let's step, hop, or heel toe back to the center and take a couple of breaths here. Energy still settling down. Maybe do a little bit of movement, maybe some tapping of those legs, because we just use those legs quite a lot. And we're getting ready to again. So whenever you're ready, take your time, go wide. And find those three corners in your feet when you go wide. So we'll make sure the feet are good and connected, so good, strong legs, even though we're not going to be here very long. Take care of those basic needs bit by bit, and you'll find that you're building your poses in a much more mindful and safe manner. So we'll spend a couple of breaths in our Warrior Two, establishing a good sound base from which to work. And then we can start that bowing action. Keep the feet evenly rooted the whole time. Breath, air supporting the movement. Let's do one more. And now we're back in our Warrior Two. Breath or two here. And only when you're ready, we'll visit that sun. And we'll stay here a few breaths. Turn it back to a Warrior Two as you're ready. Stay there a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, turn it into that side angle. Take your time building that pose, stabilizing it, fine-tuning it, and exploring it. And know that at some point you're going to turn it into a triangle. So the leg extends, the arm lifts up. Nice heart opener, you're a triangle. Even your side angle is a heart opener. You can backstroke back up into your warrior two. Press the feet evenly as you lift back up. Let's visit our sun again. I can't remember if we did that on the other side. And we can revisit warrior two for a couple of breaths. And then let's make our way back out bit by bit. Couple of breaths with the feet still wide to let the hip rotate back in. Be kind to your body. Show it love, show it respect. Don't rush it. Come back to the center bit by bit. Take a couple of breaths. How's the breath circulating your body? We check our time. We're doing pretty well. We have enough time for a balanced pose. Let's do a star pose. Let's do a star pose. That's a nice heart lifter. It's a balance pose, but it's also a heart opener and a heart lifter because number one, you have the arms wide. Anytime you have the arms wide, you need your upper chest muscles to engage to pick up those arms. So that's going to open that heart. But we'll also maybe put a slight extension to it, kind of, back bending. So when you're ready, establish a good mountain. It all starts there. And when you feel good and stable there, shift to the right and then start to pick up the left foot and leg and the arms up and out. Maybe the whole foot is off the floor, maybe just part of it. And if it's there for you, draw the belly in, lift the heart, and feel a slight extension in your spine in this pose. So a slight cobra-like back, if it's there for you. One or two more breaths. Coming back to the center bit by bit, taking a couple of breaths, notice. Try to be as still as possible, letting your body find its own way back home. Trust your muscles, trust your body's physicality. Go on to the other side when you're ready, bit by bit. You decide how much of that foot you want up. And once you've established a good foundation, can you put a slight lift to the heart, a slight arch to that spine? Only if it's there for you. Another breath or two. Back to the center. Take a couple of breaths. Let's go to the other side when you're ready. See if you can bring that arch to it. Lifting the heart. Back down as you're ready. Couple of breaths here. Take your time whenever you're ready. One more time on the left. Build, stabilize, explore, intensify, breathe. Couple more breaths. And back out as you're ready. Notice first in stillness and then maybe a little bit of release movement. Let's do a little counter work with our shoulders because we've been doing all those heart openers and opening up our arms. Let's do empty coat sleeve arms for a moment. Doesn't matter which arm is on top. Hugging yourselves. Showing a little self-love. Maybe doing some twisting from side to side. Getting a nice upper back stretch. Come back to center if you're rocking. Relax the shoulders, another breath or two. Keep the feet rooted, belly drawn in, shoulders relaxed. Keep the breath flowing. And then let's switch arms. You could shake them out first. Take care of all those basic needs. And then start to explore and experience. Maybe some rocking. Coming back to center. And let's release the arms down and kind of, shake them out a little bit. And let's get ready for the last part of our practice. So have everything you need for Shavasana before you come down. You need to take care of anything in your room. Do that before you settle in. Because if you sit down and you're worried about something, your root chakra will be compromised. Let's meet in butterfly pose. I think butterfly pose is primarily, it's primarily a hip opener, but it also, when held right, compels us to open our hearts, especially if we have our hands up. And so one thing I want to mention in this pose, I can't see you all, but sometimes I notice when people are in this pose, cobbler or butterfly, they put their hands down on their feet, their ankles somewhere. And that actually ends up kind of punching you forward and closing your heart. And what I want to see if you might do is lift your heart and put your hands in a place that allows you to keep that heart lifted and avoid slumping in your spine and in your back. So maybe on the knees or on the floor, even behind you. So you're rooted in the sits bones and the feet, giving you a nice foundation. This sacrum naturally widens in this position, drawing the belly in right at that solar plexus area will help you strengthen and sustain this pose, all helping you to lift the heart. Feel that expansion in your chest and the front of your torso, promoting deeper breath. Relax your shoulders and perhaps intensify your breath. Relax the neck as it lengthens, crown of the head reaching for the ceiling, and the sky beyond as you continue to root into the floor and the earth beyond. Keep that belly drawn in and feel the connection between the rooting into the ground and the rooting within your body. Integrate those two powers and see how that can help you lift your heart. When we lift it and open our hearts physically, we tend to tap into those areas in our emotions. We follow suit with our words, our thoughts, our actions. They're steeped in love, compassion. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And then from here, let's do a forward fold. So, if you want, you can change something about your legs in anticipation for coming down. But as we fold down, think about keeping the heart lifted and reaching for the feet rather than for the floor between your knees. So, you're not hunching down, you're rooting into the floor, you're drawing the belly, and you're lifting your heart. Your heart is lifting as you hinge and bring the body down. Yes, the torso is coming down, but there's still that lift in the heart. And notice how that keeps your spine from curving and hunching forward. And notice how you can still breathe easily even though you're coming forward. We'll go a couple more breaths. Take your time. You might not go very far as long as you're keeping that heart lifted. That's the main thing. Maybe drop the head. Though as you drop the head, still keep the heart lifted. Three more breaths. When you're ready, come on back up. Press into the floor, lifting your torso, your heart. Your body comes back. Couple of breaths here. And then we can extend out and shake out the legs and do some tapping and such. And I want to say one more thing before we lie back. One of my favorite cues is lift your heart, because that takes care of so much. Takes care of like 10 things just by that one little action. Instead of, do this, do that, draw in your belly, lift your heart, soften your shoulders, engage all your muscles. If you just lift your heart, those things all tend to happen automatically, especially if you do it a lot. Your body remembers that when your heart lifts, it needs to be supported by muscles beneath it and around it. And the shoulders need to kind of move out of the way and create that space. And then more breath is promoted. So hunching forward is very, very bad for your health. It's not just bad for your spine, but it's also bad for your respiratory system because it crowds the elements that need space to operate. And that can affect your heart because your heart is part of your respiratory system. So keep that heart lifted as much as you can, and you might find that you actually have more energy, as well as that sense of compassion. So let's lie back on our backs. Let's start in a two-legged table. And I thought we would do a bridge sequence that we've done before. I advise that you keep the socks off for this, though you can keep them nearby if you want them for Shavasana. So, two-legged table. We'll always lie back in a two-legged table before we do anything. Take a few moments. So line up the feet and the knees. Try to keep them as even as possible. That's very important. Arms by the sides. We're going to do that bridge sequence. We've done it before. What we'll do is we'll bring our arms up overhead to the floor behind us, and then we'll bring them back down. And then we'll lift the hips up in the air, and then we'll bring them back down. And then we'll do both, the hips and the arms, and bring everything back down. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you lower. First the arms, then the hips, then both. Do your best. It's somewhat of an awkward sequence, but the more you do it, the more you build strength, stability, familiarity, that stamina that you need. And notice what's happening with your heart. There's a lift in your heart when you lift the arms, when you lift the hips. There's a stretching of that area when you bring those arms up. Let's do two more. Take your time. We'll finish in a two-legged table. Let's stay here for 3 breaths. Once you're finished, take your time. 3 breaths of rest. And as you rest, you could always walk your feet a little bit away from the body, or you can keep them right where they are. You decide. We are going to do a couple more bridges. Let's go one more breath. And this time, let's just do a traditional bridge. Arms by the sides, root into the floor, engage the muscles, and then start to lift up. Lift the hips, lift the pelvis, lift your solar plexus, lift your heart. Think about your heart reaching for the ceiling, not just the hips, but the heart as well. Doesn't that help you press the shoulders and the arms and the upper back into the floor a little bit more? So you're using your whole body to stay up in this bridge. You're not asking just the legs and the low back. You're asking your upper torso muscles to engage and participate. Come on back down if you haven't already. Take a 2 or 3 breath break. And then we'll do one more bridge because we've done lots of bridges today. Let's just do one more. And this time, if it's there for you, let's see if we can do the version where you interlace the fingers underneath your bum, which compels you to bring those shoulders in and down and out to lift that heart. So you take your time lifting up into your bridge. And once you've stabilized that, fingers get interlaced. Notice what happens in your shoulder joints. They rotate out and press down. Feel the chest and your upper back muscles engaging. Your rhomboids, your trapezius muscles in the back, your pectoralis major and minor in the front and the chest there. Feel that lift in the heart. Release down whenever you're ready, bit by bit. Once you're back down, let's take 3 breaths. And let's do another twist. We haven't done too many twists today. I said we would, but we haven't done a lot. So let's form a twist. See if you can bring the arms out shoulder height. So you've got some nice width to your chest and your collarbones and your upper back. Take your time making your way into your twist and feel free to put supports in it because I'd like to stay here for at least 5 breaths. Lots of times I cue you to notice your breath in your belly region in our twists because it can be a challenge. Today, notice your chest in this position as you breathe. Notice the motion in your chest. Your upper back as well, too. A little bit longer. And then as you're ready, bit by bit, come on back to the center. Stay there a couple of breaths. You want to avoid rushing and sudden changes. That's not good for the heart. Go on to the other side when you're ready. Take the time and the props to build it so you can more likely enjoy your time here. You don't want to be struggling. If you're struggling, you won't open your heart as much. And that's whether you're on the mat or off the mat, right? How many times have we been in a rush and snapped at somebody? Another breath or two. Come on back when you're ready. A couple of breaths here. And then if you like, you can go into an apanasana. We still have some time. You could always turn that into a happy baby, which is typically a hip opener, but it also opens the heart, especially if you have your arms and your feet wide. You don't have to do happy baby if you don't want to. It's a good time to slip your socks back on. And we'll take about 10 more breaths, keeping things quiet, doing your best to stay back on the floor. You want to avoid rising up, even for just a moment, these last 10 minutes or so of our practice. Good on your nervous system. Anxiety obviously affects the heart. Whenever you're ready, you could stretch out for your Shavasana. Maybe put something under your thighs. I love doing that. I've been doing that a lot lately. You could always put a blanket over you too. The blanket's going to keep you warm, but it's also going to help you stay more rooted and grounded. It makes you feel even more connected with the earth. So if you have a blanket handy and you can spread it out over you easily, maybe try that. Take your time. I suggest that you take a few cleansing breaths whenever you do settle into your Shavasana. Those are very helpful to ease your anxiety, to quiet your nervous system. Ridding your body of physical as well as emotional toxins. I'm going to rise back up, but you stay right where you are. And I want to share with you a quote that fits our heart chakra in such a lovely way. It's from Ben Franklin, of all people. Not that he was not a nice guy, but I don't think of him as a romantic. I don't know, maybe he was. Anyway, Benjamin Franklin. The mouth of the wise man is in his heart. I love that. The mouth of the wise man is in his heart. That says quite a lot. So I'll leave you with those words, those ideas, as you relish and enjoy the quiet. I am, I feel, I do, I love. We'll go a little bit longer. Whenever you're ready, slowly start to build on your breath. And here's where you can be really good to your nervous system and take good of that care of that heart. You don't want to come up real suddenly, especially after all this time being very chill these last 15, 20 minutes. You want to ease back up slowly but surely, bit by bit, building on your breath, building on your movements. Start small, go from there, eventually coming back to your two-legged table and stay there for a couple of breaths. That's your root chakra. Notice each change, stay there for a couple of breaths, and then move on to the next. And notice how this affects your psyche, your emotions, your overall energetic levels once you do rise up. And we can meet in whatever seated position feels right. Perhaps something under your bum so you've got good support. You want to root into the floor. Draw your belly in at that solar plexus so you can keep that lift in the heart. And I wanted to show you one more mudra. This is a simple one. This is a well-known one. It's called the Padma mudra, the lotus mudra, and it's great for conditioning and cultivating our heart chakra. So the way it works is you connect the palms near the wrists, and then you connect the tips of the pinkies and the tips of the thumbs, and you let the other fingers extend out. So you're making kind of like a little bowl, the lotus. So it's opening up. You're opening up your heart, your mind to new possibilities. Hold that in front of your lifted heart. Root the sits bones, draw the belly in, maybe close your eyes and take a few moments to notice the sensations that arise as you hold this mudra. It supports both the cardiovascular and the respiratory system, cultivating a sense of empathy, compassion. This can even help to treat mild depression. Let's go 3 more breaths. And as you're ready, release it. Hands together in front of the heart. May you be safe, may you be happy, and may you be free from suffering. Namaste. Thank you so much for your practice today. Deep gratitude. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Feel free to bump on out if you need to go. I understand.